Good morning. This is Pastor Hank Tyrone from the 404, which is Atlanta, Georgia, coming live to you from my channel on YouTube called Beyond the Open Door Ministries International. This is a channel that I installed earlier this year, 2022, after 23 years of being what we call single saint, a single Christian who felt like there is no singles ministries that are really effective within the black Christian church, and very few ministers or pastors that are even touching this subject for a lot of different reasons that I will talk about and give my opinions on. But today is really to talk specifically about a person that touched my life due to having so many commonalities over the past 2 years. Person's name is Kevin Samuels, and unfortunately, he passed away yesterday at the age of 56. And for a lot of us, we didn't know who he was because we were trapped in COVID, and the only avenues that we had was our TV or internet, our internet. For a lot of people who are just jumping on the bandwagon of YouTube, YouTube has become and will become one of the most streaming powerhouses of the future. Unfortunately, that depends on how long, depends on when Hollywood and the power structure of Wall Street jumps in and takes over. But at this moment in time, they haven't done it yet. And so, old-fashioned media of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, whatever, on cable still runs the show. But that day is coming to an end. It's going to be YouTube, and then the next iteration, whatever that name of that company is, whatever smart person at Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton, whatever it's thinking of right now. But I joined YouTube way back in 2004, right at the same time Facebook came out, and I was a student at the University of Oklahoma. And as I went to school there at the University of Oklahoma till 2009, I experienced a lot. And as I was pursuing my degree in order to go into the ministry, pastoral ministry. And then from there in 2009, we ended up being in a horrific crisis, as those that are alive will remember, across the United States, the mortgage-backed security crisis. And then we ended up getting President Obama to jump in because of the things that President Bush II did and the tragedies that happened during that period of time, the loss of life, the loss of wealth, income. And then from there, we get into the kind of build-up phase after the down phase of the 2000s. For those of us that remember 9/11, and I remember that day like it was yesterday. I was in Bible school, matter of fact, when that occurred in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the day it happened, Tuesday, September the 11th, in my orientation class at Ramababa College. And I'll never forget that day for the rest of my life. It was transformative because of the things that happened that year. And then we move forward all the way to like 2011. Of course, President Obama's in office. We see the tragic racist attitudes of the country against him when he walked in love and walked in kindness and walked in excellence. And he didn't fight back. He didn't argue back. He just did what he had to do. And of course, we saw the counterculture that came up as a result of that to the way we get to now, Trump, and then the counterculture of after Trump and the future expectations of 2023 and on. So for me, this blog is going to put or encapsulate 2000 all the way to 2022, now coming up 2023. And I met Kevin Samuels by accident because I'm on YouTube and I'm listening to just random things on YouTube. YouTube is a program, or this is it right here, where it has different types of subscriptions, and you can find people you like and you can just subscribe to them and listen to them. And so every church now is jumping on YouTube. Every church is trying to put their videos on. They're trying to do their stream yards, kind of what I'm doing now, except mine is more of a home church, and trying to get people to watch, because before over the last 20 years, it was all about, quote unquote, hiding. Churches will want you to come to their special websites, Vimeo, and other types of programs. They didn't want to go to YouTube. And then now, unfortunately, they have to. Here's the church that I used to go to called Linked Up Church, which is part of Faith Christian Center, Southfield, which is part of Word of Faith International Christian Center, Southfield, Michigan. And it's changed because so much politics and things have happened over the 20 years that this minister, who is Pastor Joe Gregory, was fired from his former church and had to start a new church under his own name, find a new overseer, and now he's building himself up here in Atlanta. At the same time as the church that he used to pastor is still here in Atlanta and under a new pastor, and trying to basically compete for the same folks in the city of Atlanta and the metropolitan Georgia. Now that's just a representative of all cities across the United States. And why does that matter? Because this blog, this ministry is for Christians. And there's going to be tremendous amounts of single, may I repeat, divorced, never married, but in the fact they're single, whether they're single for a year, 5, 10, 20, or for their whole life. There are a lot of single Christians. And the truth of the matter is, as we're watching videos, these are all my subscriptions. So I have different subscriptions from various things, but it just kind of lets me know who I am. And as you see my videos that I like, you can see it's one of my videos right here from Beyond Open Door Ministries that just started. And but I have videos that I've created on other topics, and this topic is really to give flowers to Kevin Samuels because he's now gone. As Brother Hagin used to say, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord, right? To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And we, as those who've had experiences with death, tragically, from a young age all the way to now, I'm 48, and I've had experience with death probably since 21. You are transformed, and you're framed in a very, very different light because of the fact that you experience death, and it forces you to think about your mortality, and it also forces us to eulogize or to state emphatically, and here's Kevin Samuels' channel right here. I want to make sure y'all see his channel for those that are not a part of the 1.4 million subscribers and the 839 videos that he did from really 2019 to 2022. Real short time frame. But a lot of people don't know who Kevin Samuels was, do not know what he did, and what his impact will be after it's gone, no matter how imperfect he is and how many people are going to tarnish him. So I feel like I'm going to give my opinion, and I'm going to describe what I've experienced over a very short period of time of getting to know this YouTube influencer during the COVID trap pandemic, which forced us to literally stay away from each other. And now that we are coming out of COVID and his death happens in a tragic way, everyone's going to jump on him and try to tarnish his words. But the great thing about it, he's got 800 videos, and these videos on YouTube forever, and that money will go to his mother, and that money will keep his mom alive, because I'm pretty sure she's doing in the will. I'm pretty sure she's going to keep his daughter alive. All of the ex-women, wives he married, the girls that he dated are going to regret him, and they're going to miss him. His homegoing service, probably the next, he's going to go back to Oklahoma. It's going to be remembered. He's going to have a phenomenal tombstone. He won't be forgotten. Brothers are going to copy him, and they're going to emulate him. They're going to want to be like him. And I will see, and I bet I will see future carbon copies of Kevin Samuels coming out. But the reality, what made him very successful, is that he had age. He could not do this as a young 20-something-year-old or a young 30-something-year-old, or even a young 40-something-year-old who just getting in their stride financially. It's when you're 50 plus that you can do or speak in the community, we call it the community. You can speak in the black community and give opinions. I'm 48, and so I'm almost at that point where I have that authority to stand up and speak. But unfortunately, within the black Christian church community, it always seems like they want to put someone that's young in their 20s, who only been alive for 20 plus years, as an authority over those that have been alive for 55 or more. And I think that's completely wrong. HELL wrong. You have a life to live and prove and verify before you can ever state, come up and go in front of anyone and say he considered the most happening man, even though he had the 3 6s, 6 foot tall or higher, six-pack abs, and six-figure income. But because of the fact that he had those things and decided to get married not once but twice, and they both failed, which most men don't even get married once and they just automatically start having kids. He already exceeds many of the black men in the world today because he continued to study him, go to counseling. That was one of his big things. Get psychological help, go to counseling, ask questions. And unfortunately, due to a mistake that I think he made, he's no longer with us. And so we got to talk about the good and the bad so that we can learn from it. And I'm coming to you from a singles minister's mindset because I grew up in the church from age 21 to now 48. And I can truly say that the church has failed us in tremendous amounts of ways. Church is, and I'm talking about the black church, is failing us. And I would have to say to all the ministers that I've served under and went to church under and listened to, I didn't really think about a lot of the things that they really fully said until I started studying the Word of God for myself and getting qualified in ministry for myself. And I realized clearly that there are questions that pastors avoid answering. There are issues in the church that pastors avoid answering. The pastors that I know have plenty of women that go to church and plenty of women that are dying to be a husband, but they will have a husband that looks like Kevin Samuels. They, as Kevin stated, they all want the same thing. They all want the high value man. They don't want the average man like me. They don't want the guy striving to be above average, but most of us in America are average. They want the above average or high value man. Like I said, 6 foot tall or higher, six-pack abs, six-figure income or higher, more like $500,000 a year or higher. Kevin Samuels will literally interview, and he's got so many interviews that the Q&As, because he asked the same interviews, questions to every person, and you got different stories because every girl had a different story, but they were all similar in some ways. And the biggest thing he would say, which due to the copyright laws, we can't play his videos, but I would encourage you to go on his channel and look at his last video, which was Modern Party of One, which was done just 2 days ago. Another video that came 4 days ago before that, The Self-Love of Modern Women. But go and watch, out of the 830 videos, go watch 500 of them. Get your mind around it. But you know what? Only the mature saint will. Only the mature man will. The average person won't, and that's okay. They won't get the benefits that I'll get. But for those of us who are able to watch and disagree with things he said and agree with things he said, we've grown. We've grown because we watched him grow. I've watched him grow from having a little room to do his one camera to a big office to do his 3 cameras, from that to do video sound effects, from sound effects to video sound effects, from changing those, just in reinvesting and reinvesting and reinvesting into a ministry that has made him into a millionaire. Let's go look at his profile, because everybody that becomes somebody gets put online. You become what's called a public figure. You're no longer going to be, quote unquote, a private figure. So with that being said, we have the facts. Okay. He, as I, both went to the University of Oklahoma. He came out of Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, went to Millwood High School. and he was a drum major as well as a National Merit Scholar. He went to school at OU, which was what we call University of Oklahoma, OU, Oklahoma University. It's kind of a weird way, but that's how it has been done since 1890 when it was founded. In the early 90s. And he was on his way, as we'll show you right here. Let's click this no. You'll show go to his bio. He has a net worth of $3 million. Now, he's only 56. How many 56-year-old men do you know have a net worth of $3 million? Most men, black men who are 56 years old, have a net worth of probably negative 100,000 or $300,000 because they got a home that's negative debt. They've got credit cards that's negative debt. They're all underwater. Many of us don't even have or will have, ever have, no matter if you're in the ministry or not, trying to live off offerings, or you're an engineer like myself working and making money as an actual college graduate in a profession, will get to this level of $3 million. But it's a little bit of information about him. His name is Kevin Rashawn Samuels, born March the 13th, 1965. He was 56 years old as of the age of 2001. Didn't look it. You have to admit that. He didn't look it. But every time I would listen to his shows and I would hear him talk to women, he would have these conversations with them like, listen, those that are in my generation that are 40 plus, you need to tell the young girls, and this is why my ministry is here, to help tell the young boys, the guys that are now 12, hitting puberty, hitting sexual marketplace value, hitting, as we call it, desire for sex, to make proper decisions to be a wife or to become a husband, and don't make terrible choices to carry before you marry. Having children before you get married is wrong, and that mindset which came out of our parents, my parents, I'm Generation X child, but it comes out of my baby boomer mother and other baby boomers, comes from the 60s, and he would go back in time and explain that in many of his videos, that from slavery of 1619 all the way to 1960, black families were together. Then something happened in 1960 we call the Great Society of Lyndon Baines Johnson and welfare. And then we had a tremendous boom of more women, black women, going to school in the 70s, but then graduating, having children, but also having multiple children, never married with multiple men. Those are the children that I am. Those are the people that are growing up to be my age or in the 40s. And then those kids, which are me, or men or women, have children that are now in the 20s who are getting ready to have children now for that's going to be impacted in 2040. And now we got to work on moving from 14% of the total United States population to 25% to 50%. And that our children won't, if we don't tell them these truths, that you were wrong, we were wrong, you cannot live on this planet alone. You must think about your whole life. You must think about your death. But what's powerful is this. He died on 5/5/2022. But he died with the estimated worth of $3 million. How many of you will die tomorrow? If you died today, if you died the second, you know that you got $3 million going to your seed and your children. I'm talking about those who are parents. Those who are parents, because he was a parent. Most of us don't have that because we are still struggling, making bad choices that impact our lives. Now, his story is very unique, but it's no different than mine or yours. He had tragedy in his life. He tried to overcome it to be the best he could be. The vision that he had when he first started was not what he ended. And that's kind of what life is all about. How many kids you know grow up and they say, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a football player, I'm going to be an NFL, all these things, right? 20 years later, they're not in any of those things because what? Life. But that doesn't stop us from dreaming. But for those that don't make what they said they were going to be at 8, but then they continue to fight and fight. Now they're 56 and they've achieved certain things. You got to salute them. And what Kevin Samuels did for him is he found a niche. He found that instead of me supporting rich white CEO executives and become their publicist / image coach and making them rich, I want to help black people and help them learn how to make themselves powerful. And that's one of the most profound videos and profound points that I want to make sure we acknowledge. Let me show you a video that he had said just yesterday so that you can go online and listen to it because it came out many, many years ago. Okay. And so I'm going to go back down to yesterday and I'm going to point to the video that I think you should watch. Let's see, I've watched so many videos, so I've got to go and figure out and who it was. Okay, this is my other channel. I've got to make sure I'm in the right channel. So let's switch channels. This is my Beyond Open Door. Let's go back to my Pastor Hank Tyrone from the Foe. And we're going to tell you some of the videos that I watch. And one thing about YouTube, it keeps a history of all the videos that you've watched long term. So you know exactly how people, what you've seen, and you can go back and watch it. So I watch a lot of videos, but I was watching one video by a person from Texas who decided to start a channel where he actually explained. Okay, we're gonna go up a little bit, somewhere up in here. He had an interview with Kevin Samuels, and as I'm watching videos, and I got lots of videos of people who've been shot, lots of videos of black men being killed and murdered at young ages. This is what pisses me off. This is what makes me want to be a singles minister. This is what makes me want to get in and fight for our kids because they're dying. They're dying, and it's not right. And for those that don't stand up, you're wrong. And I'm going to stand up if you're not. And so this is why my ministry is in here. But let's see if I can find that video. Oh, Lord, help me, help me, help me, help me. All right, we're going to have to come back to it. I'm going to have to skip. There's so many videos. But there's going to be a big void because a lot of people are going to want to jump in and try to copy Kevin and try to do what Kevin Samuels did. But the one thing we're going to acknowledge right now, they won't be able to do it. They won't be able to do it because, number one, they don't have the number of years of life. They have not read the thousands of books he read. They have not built the mind that made him powerful. It wasn't just his height of being 6 foot. It was his mind of being 100 foot. He was a reader. He read, he thought, he took everything that the European colleges teach us to do in higher learning and implemented it. And unfortunately, most blacks don't read, so therefore that's not going to occur. We like to watch TV, but we're not going to do any reading. So I don't think that anyone right now is going to take his standard. I think O'Shea Duke Jackson and a lot of Lapeef Network and a lot of other networks on YouTube are going to try, but they know deep down inside they've lost a icon because he was a dude that failed and didn't get his PhD. He was on his way to getting his PhD at the University of Oklahoma College of Engineering. Shout out to one of my friends when I went to school with at OU named Lewis Jackson, who actually was successful and being a PhD in chemical engineering at the White University of Oklahoma, going to school there for 10 years, fighting to get his undergrad, deciding not to go to medical school but go to PhD and get the PhD, fighting against the what people in his family wanted him to do, because everybody in Mamba wants you to be a doctor and get the residency and become Dr. So-and-so, not a PhD doctor, but an MD doctor, if that makes sense. And even lost a marriage as a result of it because the woman that he was married to ended up cheating on him and it caused his divorce while he was in the, sixth, seventh, eighth year of studying for the PhD, and it takes about 10 years. I watched it from the sidelines as a older undergrad student with the dream of getting my PhD, and I'm working on that, praise the Lord. But to be watching it from the sidelines or from an outside experience, you don't really understand the number of blacks that don't even get into college, period, much less get into master's degree programs, PhD degree programs. Lots of black females, but I'm talking black men. Black men don't do it. Black men, it's like, that's almost kind of like, you're not even expecting. That's another big problem that Kevin Samuels brings out. So as we are living in this life and we're walking through this life and we're seeing within the Christian church people who are, quote unquote, trying to be the best they can be. We've been faced with this hatred by white people. I'm calling it out. You got to call it out. But it's historic. It's critical race theory. It's the way America was founded. We were brought over here as chattel. We were brought over here as chattel and kept enslaved for 245 plus years. Then we had 100 years of, Jim Crow segregation. None of that's going to be forgotten. We will not allow any church, any church, any school, any politician to take that away from us. And they're trying to do a big job of it right now. But guess what? We got YouTube. And the next medium we got will be another great medium, TikTok. We're always going to continue to push the boundaries because there's always going to be more innovation every day because there's always a new kid going to college trying to make money off of building a new robot, a new widget, etc. Business 101. Shout out to all my business school grads and fellow grads. So this man who unfortunately found, he's born in 65, I'm born in 74. So he's 9 years older than me. Now, as a person that's born in 74, I grew up in a period of time where I saw from Jacksonville, Florida, kind of an easy life. And but I was not really prepared to go to college. I didn't necessarily have a mindset that I got to get this degree. My mother didn't finish her grad degree or a bachelor's, and so I wasn't even pushed by her to do that. And again, that's a lot of kids today. Our parents didn't continue their education, and the children don't continue theirs. And so we never get that level of high learning and never be able to get that level of growth. And then you go out into the world and you try to survive and try to get a job, and you lose and you lose and you lose. And then it makes you jaded, and makes you angry, and makes you jaded. And then you end up becoming a 50-year-old has been a sad person that ends up dying young because of the stress and the pain of your life. It's very few men that I know that are 50 plus that have made mistakes, learned from them, have overcome them, and now are influencers on YouTube like Kevin Samuels. They don't even know what YouTube is. They don't even keep themselves up when it comes to the latest technologies. And these are men I'm talking about that are Christian. So we have a long way to go as Christian men, as those who are in, I consider the 40s. And that's ministry is really for those that are age 12 all the way up to 40. But this video is really for those that are mature, it's over 18. And I state that emphatically. Fair use, fair use, fair use. We're not going to play anything that's from Kevin Samuels' channel because, like I expect he to have with his lead attorney, he's got laws and he's got all his stuff protected. He's not, I'm pretty sure, man, is going to let his death stop him. He's going to change things from the grave because he already got all his assets, his liabilities, all his will, trust, and everything set up for him. Praise the Lord. Now, in 2021, a young black lady claimed that she was Kevin Samuels' daughter. She was born June 29, 2000. However, the information was not well embraced by its online fans, and some of it was not true. Interesting. I didn't know this. So, this channel called Briefly from Zambia, briefly.co.za, which lets you know that they're not even in the United States, but you can see how its impact is. They've taken his social media and have pushed all of his life online globally. That's why I call him a global influencer. And he basically, like I said, has probably was going to create a book, but unfortunately, he died before he can actually make that book come to pass. But someone is going to take that and they're going to run with it. He also became such a polarizing a person that many people, many black women specifically, tried to counsel him by putting all kinds of, as you see right here, petitions for his removal on social media platforms, basically saying he's like Donald Trump. And we know how racist Donald Trump was, and we know the effects of his actions. He caused January 6th riots where women were killed and people were killed because they wanted to go into the capital of the United States, which has never been done in the history of America, to so-called fight for rights. Kevin Samuels never forced black men to go beat up black women and say, go beat up all black women and attack black women physically and violently. What Kevin Samuels said was that our black women have wrong ideas about wanting the same man. And his arguments were based upon the conversations that he had with women. So here's some of the, again, this is a chat, this is a non-United States channel putting all this out about Kevin Samuels. And I wanted to pick something that wasn't the United States to let you know the world is much, much bigger than tiny United States. So here's the person's statement here. Whatever credibility Kevin Samuels fans claim, I'm a fan, that he has, immediately gets canceled out because he always has the most horrible takes. Is that true? That is not true. No, it's not true. The takes come from the attitudes and the ignorant statements of the women that call in. The women that call in are the most ratchet, argumentative, violent women. And when you call into a show, thank God for YouTube, you can't hide behind an avatar. I'm not showing my camera face right now. But in the world of YouTube, when I start bringing people on a show, I want to see your face, and you got to see mine. I will copy the Kevin Samuels style, meaning that I can't hide behind an avatar. You can't hide behind an avatar. You got to show yourself. And that means the video camera is recording, and that means anything you say and do can be used against you if you are a person with a negative, nasty attitude. So this Corey girl, which is a typical young black girl, who said this in July of 2021, probably is single, probably's got kids out of wedlock, probably tragically broken because of the dude she picked to be with and have sex with. And as Kevin Samuels said, give the most highest value, the most amazing gift, your womb, your vagina, to make a life with someone you don't love, who's never going to be there and is going to find another woman. You get what you get. And because Kevin was so blunt to state these facts, to state these truths to black people, the 7 million black women plus in the United States. Remember, we're only 40 million, so I take that back. 40 million of us is what they say we are, 46 million. If you divide that by 2, that means 20 million, right? And if you say take the kids out, I would say that's half of that. So that means 20 million girls, half of those are kids. That means about 10 million adult, sexually marketed, sexually active women who can have children. Maybe 10 to 12 million. And about 10 to 12 million boys. Or actually a little less, maybe, because I think there are more 2 million more black women than black men, based upon statistics. The reality is, the girls they're calling to do his show, most of them are women with kids. Most of them are women with multiple kids from multiple men. And then they call into the show and they say they want a high value man like me to take care of their kid, to take care of their kids plural, to pay for their kids plural, who they've already given a body up to give 2 or 3. They're now 30 plus. They don't want to have another child, but they want a high value man to take care of their finances because they messed up and they are not married to the men they were having sex with and getting impregnated by. And all Kevin Samuels does is ask questions like, hey, tell me exactly why you didn't marry so-and-so. Tell me why you didn't marry so-and-so. There's another woman. She can't even write a sentence correctly. The issue is dudes like Kevin Samuels. The larger issue is that black women gave what? And some still continue to give him a platform. So her argument is never accountability. The issue is black women having babies with men that they're not married to, that they didn't get married before having children. Woman with colored hair, I'm doing an ad hominem attack. I'm attacking her because I think that if she's attacking him, you now have the right to be attacked. If you're going to attack someone, I expect I'm going to be attacked too. But the way Kevin spoke was directly to you. He would ask you questions, and then he would say, why would you have three kids with three different guys? Then want a fourth guy. Was the guy the first guy you got impregnated by? These are all great questions. Was he the first person that took your virginity? And these answers are normally no. So that means that you having sex with many, many people, but then you decide to have baby one with this person, don't work out. Then give it another guy, baby two, they don't work out. Then baby three. And then you now calling, you want man four, that's high value to take you plus three people, and you won't give him a child, so he's got to. And the answer to that is like, no, it's not going to happen. And so when Kevin Samuels makes these conclusions and have these conclusions like this one is a very interesting one. We'll talk about that this episode. You actually see he's 100% right. Now, of course, again, ad hominem attack is what? This is a logical fallacy style technique that you use to attack the man. So that means when you speak up on something, that's why people like my pastors will stay quiet and they won't be out in public. Because they'll stand up in front of a church, their little church, and preach about their opinions of right and wrong. But they know they got a choir that's going to say, yes, a pastor, right? But would they do that in front of the world, like Kevin Samuels? He was willing to do that in front of the world. That means saved, unsaved, the whole. That's why he's more powerful than most pastors. But the bad thing that I have to admit, because I cannot state emphatically that he lived as me or as a Christian that continually is analyzing his everyday actions to say, okay, does that line up with God's word? He had anger problems with the church, like millions of people do. And instead of coming online and talking about them like I'm doing now, because I have anger problems with the church, I feel the church has failed in a lot of ways. What Kevin Samuels would do is he would start taking some of the arguments that the world has put out, and I call that Satan, because Satan is lowercase God of this world. And he started using them in the church. Okay, I got a haircut coming up in about 30 minutes, so I've got to get prepared for the barber. He should be on his way. Let me check my phone and make sure I get everything ready. So as I'm moving, I've got my microphone on. Let me change this so you just see my page. I don't want you to just look at this screen since I'm not near my computer right now. This will just be me talking. There we go. And so basically, he started saying that, you know, men and women should accept polyamorous relationships. That a woman, because of the fact that they are a negative, they're 2,000 people less than, oh, there is a man, okay. Oh, he's on his way, okay. Okay, cool. I gotta hustle, I gotta hustle. Let's go get my clothes on. He texted me 18 minutes ago, say he's on his way to my location. So we'll be stopping this in a few minutes. Um, but I get to get my hair cut. So excited about that. I got an interview coming up on Monday for a new position. So I got to get ready. Sorry, side nugget. We'll be stopping this blog in a few minutes. But Kevin Samuels started saying stuff that you had to disagree with. You had to disagree with, because what he was saying was, you know, if you are a man that worked your tail off to make $3 million and, you know, net worth, high value income, $10,000 a month, which is like literally 1% of the black population, you should have multiple options. Well, the reality is that that's white mindset thinking. That's the white cuckold mindset thinking. There's a lot of white people that are cheating, that have cheated, or still cheating, and their wives accept it. Why? Because it's all about the money. The wives get a certain quality of life, and they are used to that quality of life, and they're going to not want, i.e., to lose that quality of life. So technically speaking, they're going to keep their mouth shut, right? Because they have a plan. They want to be pregnant by 30, done with all their kids by 40, grandmother by 50. It's not like, our black community where girls are getting pregnant between 18 and 29, and then they are grandmothers by 30 or 35 because they got pregnant so early, right? Well, that's sad, but the truth of the matter is that's the way it has been in our black community for a very long time. And of course, most of the time they're not married to the men they got impregnated by, and that's why Kevin Samuels says that you have all these kids that are repeating this vicious cycle, and that we need to stop it. But then some of the things that Kevin Samuels said, I totally disagree with. I don't think, as a man, you should have more than one woman. But at the same time, men are, for all intents and purposes, we are hormone driven related, and we want to spread our seed. We want to have sex. And lots of men are proud that they got 4 or 5 kids with 4 or 5 women. Now, to me, that's horrific. But I come from a father who has 8 kids from different women. And it's a tragedy, to say the least. Oh, good. It's a tragedy, to say the least. Because a man having that many kids, you can't be with those kids. You can't raise those kids. You can't love those kids. You have to love the wife of that child. But if you're having sex with multiple women, how are you going to love 2 women and then 2 women's different children from 2 different homes? Because each woman has their own home, and you can't share women and expect the kids getting equal love. It's futile to even think that. So when Kevin Samuels, says certain things, I have to disagree with Kevin. There's no question about it. But when it comes down to some things he says, I do agree. And that's the way a lot of us that are mature understand life. We're going to listen to people. We're going to really take a hard look. We're going to listen hard, and we're going to then throw out what we don't agree with, and we're going to take what we agree with. So what's the tragic thing about Kevin Samuels is, as intelligent as he is or was, he decided to go, and after making $3 million and having 2 failed marriages, he decided that he was going to. Okay, one more. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. All right, thank you so much for holding. So I got my barber coming, get my hair cut. So I'll be stopping this in a few minutes. So I just want to kind of just say, for those that would watch this rerun, thank you for listening. But this is to give flowers to Kevin Samuels. And to say emphatically that I'm so sorry that he made a choice to have sex with someone that he really wasn't in a relationship with, because it's been now stated that he picked an Instagram girl who was 30 years old. We all understand that 30-year-old girls on Instagram are quote unquote, they're young thoughts. They're young girls chasing penis for money. They don't have the desire or the knowledge of a 40-year-old. And you automatically know that a 56-year-old man with the kind of mind of Kevin Samuels has knowledge by years over. Turn this volume down a little bit, a little too loud. Sorry about that. Has has the ability to walk circles around girls, right? And that's one of the weaknesses that we have to say when we are dating somebody, is that we have the ability to, if you're an older man, you have the ability to walk circles. And I say the capital word, circles around a person. And it's not right for us to walk circles around a girl. That's why I really believe people should date within their own age group. Dating someone half your age is like dating your own child. And you say, what are you saying? What do you mean? Well, what I'm saying, what I mean is, it is like dating your own child. A 20-year-old in our in my family's days, my mother, she was 22 when I was born. So what does that mean? Well, to me, one more second. Gotta do something real quick here. All right. And so what I'm saying is that this girl who's 30 years old, who just probably became a nurse 5 years ago, she is a novice. She's still worried about her outward appearance. She's still trying to look like a black girl by, she's from Hawaii, kind of in Hawaii, which is mixed of Asian and all, Hawaii is a mixture of all kind of races, right? So when someone's a Hawaii Pacific Islander, it's like the girl that he was talking to that was in LA. Remember the girl he had on the show over the last 6 or 7 months? He went to LA and he had a call-in show with an Islander, Asian girl, and you could tell that the girl was interested in him, and you could tell that this Asian girl liked black men. And it almost, I know it's to a lot of black women, it probably angered the heck out of them because they know that they're not selectable, and based upon what he said, they're not selectable anymore, right? They're not picked, right? Because he said that he would not want to date women his own age because of the fact that they're hard to deal with. And he did marry twice, and I'm positive from an Oklahoma perspective, he married, two black women that probably came from dysfunctional homes, probably didn't have a father in the home themselves, probably had issues that they know that they had not dealt with, and they got into marriage, and that's so simple, right? It is so simple to get a person. And one second, I gotta add some things here. Go personal bio. Okay, I gotta say banks or link a credit card. There we go. So we're gonna link so they're gonna charge 3% on my credit card for me. I hate using credit card 4755, but I got to use for my Cash App here 83. In the name of Jesus, I thank you for more money. All right, cool. So now we're going to use our Cash App, and I'm going to pay him with my card. All right. So the good news, I get a haircut. It lasts me at least 2 weeks until I have to get another one, but he's going to bald my sides. I got to get a picture of how I want my head to look so that when he's looking at the picture, he knows exactly what to do. I got to find a better African American person to use as a picture. Cause I mean, my head is pretty. I gotta find someone with a similar head. If I can find somebody that's a similar head to me, then we're good because I can then, boom, get the best haircut. So, who has a similar head? Mr. Romero, yeah, maybe haircut like him. But I got a picture of my old head from he took a picture of me about I guess it's been 2 weeks I had my last haircut. But man, I had gone literally 2 years without getting a haircut, man, due to this COVID, right? I couldn't get out the house due to my knee and then COVID, and then of course, hey, if I'm in the house all day and I wasn't using YouTube, I wish I was. I would have been on YouTube. If I wish I was using my camera, because if I had gotten, I would have got a chance to really meet Kevin, because I never met him. I just watched a lot of his shows, dissected him, but I didn't want to meet him because technically speaking, I didn't feel I was mature enough. I definitely didn't feel ready to meet him, and I didn't feel like I just wasn't prepared. And so that's one thing I'd say about this blog that I think the singles ministry guys, the boys that hopefully God willing I will be able to be prepared is to tell these young boys, because the ones that I'm going to meet, you're automatically going to have inroads with them because of the fact that you're 40, almost 50. And I'm like, but when I turn 50 in 2 years, I really, really want to be an elder that understands the seriousness of our relationships. That is so much more than having sex. It's so much more than making babies. All that is very important, but it. Okay, that was crazy. Why I was a video you can probably may not hear the background, but I'm playing it on my other computer. The last video that Kevin Samuels had with a single black woman of three. She has oldest the age of the oldest child is 8 years old. The youngest is pretty much I think two. So it's like 8, 6, and 2. So over a period of 8 years, she went back to back to back to have a child, 3 children with this man, and the guy now is leaving her. He doesn't want to be with her. Now, the problem is, as he starts asking questions about, well, what is your relationship like in their situation? This is what makes Kevin Samuels such a profound person. He would ask these very important questions. She starts just destroying his character, saying he's no good, he don't take care of his kids, he don't do the right thing. It's just a tragic, tragic thing. And then so Kevin Samuels asked the question, so if you are saying he's all these things, why do you want to go back to him? If you're saying he don't take care of y'all kids, I got to make sure I say y'all, because a lot of times women will always say my kids, but they're y'all kids. It took his sperm to make them, but because of the whole bull crap of the movement of feminism, the women immediately say, well, it's my body, but it's your sperm. But the moment you give me your sperm, it's mine, therefore it ain't your such BS. And the woman says, quote, well, I believe in being faithful to my husband, but you're saying he don't do the right thing. So someone's lying. That's it. Someone's lying. Exactly. Someone's lying. And that's what Kevin Samuels does, which is so profound. He catch you in the lies. He catch you when you start lying. And he calls it his BS meter. And he catches you. Can't wait. I can't wait to go to Capitol Hill and be a part of Phi Beta Sigma. Hallelujah. I will be. My knee will be back. My surgery will work and I will be able to walk on time like I'm supposed to. But back to my point, and so when Kevin Samuels talking to this lady, he once he catches the BS, ha ha ha, he shuts you down. Once he catches the BS, he shuts you down. And he basically says, okay, you're not going to speak. All right, that's cool, man. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, thanks. Doyle, all right, okay. So let me close this. The guys here, let's get everything ready. Let's look, close that. All right. Let's see. All right. And so the barber's here. Hello, sir. Come on in, brother. How you doing, man? All right, love it, love it, love it. Come on in, bro. How's everything going? Good, good, good.